Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today, we're going deep into a story that you might not believe. Yeah, it's pretty out there. No kidding. Okay, so our source today is a little unusual. It's actually excerpts from this YouTube video. Oh, I think I saw that one. It's called what was it? Diddy's ex-wife's tell-all book reveals everything. Must watch. That's the one. So in this video, the YouTuber Noah Jacob claims he has this like lost diary from Kim Porter, Diddy's ex, the one that got pulled from shelves, right? Right, yeah. And let me tell you, he reads some pretty intense stuff. It's all about Diddy, obviously. It's full of like alleged secrets and crazy stories about like wild encounters, dangerous situations, that sort of thing. Exactly. And right off the bat, the video starts with this disclaimer about possible criminal activity and even hints at some connection to Kim Porter's death. And Jerry Fox and Al B shooting too, right? Yeah, it's a lot. Like right from the beginning, you're like, whoa, where is this going? Definitely sets the stage for a wild ride. No kidding. Yeah, okay, so the video starts by talking about Kim Porter's early life. You know, meeting Al B, sure, having Quincy, her modeling career. And then bam, she meets Sean Diddy Combs. Right, and the YouTuber portrays Diddy as this like super charming, persistent dude, which he just wouldn't take no for an answer. Kim was hesitant at first, but he kept pursuing her. Yeah, and it's like from there, the relationship just explodes into this whirlwind, you know, hot and heavy, then on again, off again, tons of drama. And then that's where the story takes a turn, and some of these more shocking claims start to emerge. Like what? Well, for example, there are claims about Diddy's sexual preferences, things that supposedly made Kim uncomfortable. And even one incident that she describes where he asked her to use a sex toy on him and it ended with him bleeding. Okay, hold on. Yeah, it's intense and it raises questions about consent and the power dynamics at play, for sure. And then it gets even darker because the diary claims that Diddy first hit Kim after she accused him of being with Clive Davis. If true, that is obviously incredibly disturbing. No kidding. And from that point on, it seems like every page, every story is more shocking than the last. It's one bombshell after another, right? Like there's this whole account of an alleged threesome with Diddy, Kim Porter, and Mary J. Blige. And then another crazy scene where Kim supposedly walks in on Diddy and LB, sure, together in a very compromising position. Yeah, implying that something was going on there. Yeah, definitely. And again, it all points to these really unbalanced power dynamics in Diddy's relationships. It sounds like Kim often felt trapped and scared. Like she couldn't escape, even when things got bad. Yeah, that's a really scary thought. And then there's this whole other element of like voodoo and curses. Oh yeah, the YouTuber reads from the diary that Diddy was supposedly involved in that stuff, like he was using it to control people. Seriously. Well, that's what the diary claims. Who knows if it's true? But it definitely adds this whole other layer of intrigue and makes you wonder about what Diddy was really capable of. Okay, so then we get to the part about Kim's relationship with Tupac. Right, so the diary says that they slept together while she and Diddy had an open relationship. So that wasn't the issue. The issue was that Diddy supposedly made moves on Tupac. That's what the diary suggests, yeah. And that's what really caused problems between them, like jealousy. Yeah, it seems like it. And that's where this whole thing gets really crazy because, according to the YouTuber, Kim overheard Diddy ordering a hit on Tupac. Well, wait a minute, are you serious? That's what's in the diary. And it goes on to say that Diddy and Biggie saw Tupac after he was shot, wounded in an elevator, but didn't help him. Wow. I mean, if that's true, it's a really heavy accusation. It is. And the story doesn't stop there. It says that Diddy threatened Kim after she overheard him talking about the shooting, like he was warning her to keep quiet. Yeah, supposedly he squeezed her hand really hard, like a threat. This is crazy. It sounds like something out of a movie. Right. And the YouTuber goes on to read that Diddy wanted to use the whole East Coast, West Coast rivalry to make money. Like he was going to release a diss track aimed at Tupac even after the shooting. That's messed up. It really is. It paints a pretty dark picture of Diddy. Like he was willing to exploit a tragedy for profit. Okay, then there's the part about Kadada Jones, Tupac's fiance. According to the diary, she confronted Diddy at an award show and accused him of being involved in the shooting. And the YouTuber's narration suggests that Diddy knew not to mess with her because of her connections, you know, being Quincy Jones' daughter and all. So he couldn't control her like he maybe could with others. But he still got his revenge, right? The diary says that he peed in her drink at the award show. Yeah, that's what the YouTuber reads. I know, it's pretty hard to believe, but it's there in the diary. And it just shows this other side of Diddy, like he was vindictive and willing to stoop pretty low. Okay, so then we get to this bombshell, where the YouTuber suggested Diddy actually prefers men and was using Kim as a cover. Okay, now that's where we have to be careful, because just because the diary might mention Diddy with other men doesn't automatically mean he was using Kim as a cover. Well, we can't jump to conclusions. Yeah, no, definitely not. But the YouTuber keeps building this narrative and reads from the diary about Kim supposedly finding Diddy in bed with Jada Pinkett Smith. And get this, Will Smith was there too, but snuggled up with someone else. Oh my God, so the implication is that it was Diddy. Yeah, that's what the YouTuber leads you to believe, and that's a whole other level of drama and raises a lot of questions, for sure. And then, oh man, it gets even darker. The YouTuber reads this conversation from the diary, where Kim overhears Diddy talking about Biggie. Yeah, he's talking to someone called like X in the diary, and he was saying that Biggie was worth more to him dead than alive, and that he wouldn't protect him if he left his record label. Oh man. I mean, that's just disturbing, chilling. I don't even know what to say. I know, right? It's like the Tupac stuff all over again. And of course, Kim confronts him about it, but his response is just as cold. Yeah, and he basically tells her that he's not going to kill anyone, but he's also not going to protect someone who's not 100% loyal to them. It's so manipulative. Absolutely. And then there's this part where the YouTuber says that the diary describes Diddy holding Kim at gunpoint after they broke up. Are you kidding me? This is insane. It is. It really paints a picture of Diddy as dangerous and violent. The YouTuber reads how Kim was terrified, begging him not to hurt her, especially with Quincy in the house. Well, what did Diddy say? It's scary. He basically tells her he wouldn't shoot her because it would be too easy to trace. He says if he wanted to kill her, he'd use something untraceable like poison. Whoa, yeah, it's really unsettling. Okay, so to top it all off, we get to this encounter between Diddy and Valletta Wallace, Biggie's mom, after Biggie died. According to the YouTuber, Diddy made Kim meet with Valletta to ask for some of Biggie's money. Oh yeah, it's like even in the face of tragedy, Diddy's main concern was his own financial gain. It's just heartless. It really is. And that's where the first part of this video ends, leaving us with all these questions and this feeling of, like, what the heck did we just watch? I know, right? But don't worry, there's more to come, because the YouTuber says the rest of Kim Porter's story is coming in part 2. Oh man, I don't know if I'm ready for more. But I guess we gotta find out what else his diary has to say. We do. So buckle up, because I have a feeling things are about to get even crazier. All right, so we're back, ready for more of this crazy story. I think so. I mean, after that first video, I'm not sure what to expect. Yeah, it was pretty wild. A lot of heavy stuff, a lot of disturbing allegations. Yeah, it's hard to even process it all, you know? Like, we went from Diddy being this charming music mogul to hearing about alleged murder plots and voodoo. It's a lot to take in, for sure. It really makes you think about the image we have of these celebrities and how much of it is, you know, just a carefully crafted facade. Yes, like, can we really trust anything we see in the media? That's a big question. But let's try to stay focused on this particular story for now. So remember, we're only getting one side of it right. The version of events, according to Kim Porter's supposed diary, right? And we have to be careful about just taking everything at face value. Just because it's written down doesn't make it true. Exactly. But even with that in mind, even if we take it all with a grain of salt, it's still pretty compelling stuff. It is. And it makes you wonder, like, what's the motivation behind releasing this information now? Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, the YouTuber claims that Kim Porter wanted her story told, you know, that she wanted to expose Diddy, but at the same time, it's a YouTube video, so there's obviously a potential for profit here too. It's hard to know what to believe sometimes. It is, and that's why it's so important to be critical, you know, to think for ourselves, weigh the evidence, and consider all the possible motives. Okay, so let's try to do that. Based on what we've heard so far, what are like the most important takeaways for you? What do you think our listeners should be thinking about after hearing this? Well, for me, it's the power dynamics. That keeps coming up again and again. The diary, assuming it is really Kim Porter's, paints this picture of Diddy as someone who uses his power and influence to get what he wants, regardless of who he hurts. He plays by his own rules, right? And the people around him, including Kim, are often left feeling powerless to stop him. And that's even if we don't believe all the specific allegations. Just the overall tone, the feeling of being trapped and afraid, that's really powerful stuff. It is, and it makes you think about all those other stories we hear about, you know, powerful figures in the music industry, or any industry really, who abuse their power, like the whole hashtag #MeToo movement. It's a reminder that this kind of stuff happens all the time, even if it doesn't always make the headlines. Exactly. So even though this particular story might seem like just gossip, it speaks to something much larger. It's about accountability, calling out bad behavior, and protecting those who are vulnerable. Okay, so we've talked about power dynamics, the motives behind releasing this information, the potential for, exaggeration or even fabrication. But what about the actual content? Like, is there anything specific that you find particularly compelling or noteworthy? Well, aside from the obvious shock value of some of these allegations, I think the most important thing to focus on is the potential consequences of Diddy's actions. Like, if even a fraction of what's in this diary is true, it raises some serious legal and ethical questions. Like, could he face criminal charges? Like, potentially, yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about allegations of assault, threats, even involvement in a murder plot. Those are serious crimes. So if there's enough evidence to support those claims, then yeah, legal action could definitely be taken. So a lot to think about. It is. And even beyond the legal stuff, there's the whole question of reputation and public image, right? Diddy has built his career on being this successful, charismatic businessman. But if these allegations stick, it could really damage his whole empire. Think about it. Brands might not want to be associated with him anymore. Fans might turn away. Investors might lose confidence. Could be a total domino effect. Exactly. And that's why I think this story is so important. It's not just about gossip. It's about the potential for these kinds of accusations to bring down even the most powerful figures. So what do you think happens next? I mean, will Diddy even address these allegations? Will there be an investigation? Well, that's hard to say. It depends on a lot of things, Will other people come forward to corroborate Kim's story? Will law enforcement take these claims seriously and actually investigate? Will Diddy's lawyers try to discredit the diary and the YouTube? We're all just waiting to see what happens. Yeah, it is. And while we wait, I think it's important to keep talking about these issues, Keep asking questions, keep challenging the status quo, and keep holding powerful people accountable for their actions. I totally agree. So where do we go from here? We've got the second part of the video to watch, and who knows what else might come out. That's right. And even beyond the specific story, there are so many broader conversations we need to be having about power, fame, and the responsibilities that come with both. It's definitely a lot to think about. It is, but that's what makes this kind of deep dive so valuable, It's not just about the surface level drama, it's about using that drama as a springboard to explore these deeper issues and to challenge our own assumptions. Well, I'm ready for part 2. Let's see what else this YouTuber has to say. Okay, but you might want to brace yourself. It sounds like things are about to get even wilder. Man, that second video was even crazier than the first one. It's a lot, right? My head is spinning. So many intense stories and shocking claims. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to believe some of the things we heard. Like, did that really happen? It's like watching some crazy TV drama, but it's real life. Right, and these are real people, with real feelings. We can't forget that. Absolutely. And even if we can't be sure what really happened, those allegations raise some important questions about power, fame, and accountability. That's what makes it so fascinating, right? It's not just gossip. No, definitely not. It's a way to look at these bigger issues, these bigger themes that are playing out. Okay, so we've heard a lot of claims, some more believable than others. For you, what are the key takeaways? Like, what should our listeners be thinking about after listening to all of this? Well, first off, it's crucial to remember that this is just one side of the story. What we've heard is Kim Porter's account, or at least what the YouTuber says is her account. And we have to be careful about accepting everything as fact. Right? There's always more to the story than what we see on the surface. Exactly. We haven't heard Diddy's side of things, and there are all these other people involved who we haven't heard from. It's complicated, right? Like, we can't really understand all the dynamics at play without more information. Definitely. But even with what we have, there are some broader points we can consider. The theme of power and control, for example, that's really striking. Oh yeah, it comes up over and over again in those videos. And it seems like Kim often felt powerless in her relationship with Diddy, which raises the question, how do these power imbalances affect relationship? Right, exactly. What are the signs of an abusive relationship? And how can we create a culture where people feel safe speaking out against abuse, no matter who the abuser is? That's so important. And it's not just about romantic relationships, right? It applies to workplaces, families, society as a whole. Yeah, you're right. Power dynamics are everywhere. And I think this story also highlights what can happen when that power goes unchecked. Like, if those allegations are true, Diddy's actions really hurt Kim and others around him. Right, and it makes you think, Does fame and wealth sometimes shield people from consequences? It's scary to think about, but it makes sense, right? Yeah, it does. Like, is it possible to be so powerful that you become untouchable? Or does justice eventually catch up with everyone, no matter who they are? Whoa, it's a heavy question. It is, right? It makes you wonder how many other stories are out there, stories of abuse that haven't been told. And that's why it's so important to keep talking about this stuff, right? To keep these conversations going, to challenge the status quo, to hold those in power accountable, and to support those who are vulnerable. Exactly. We all have a role to play in creating a more just world. This deep dive has been, well, intense is an understatement. Yeah, for sure, but valuable too. It's a great example of how we can use storytelling and critical thinking to explore these complex issues. I agree. And I think we've all learned something from it. Hopefully our listeners have too, like a deeper understanding of the story and the bigger issues it raises, and a renewed commitment to fighting injustice and holding people accountable. Well said. I think that's a good place to wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us on this wild ride. It's been a journey. Keep learning, keep questioning, and keep pushing for a better world, everyone. And stay tuned for our next deep dive. We'll be tackling another fascinating topic. Until then, keep those minds open and those conversations going.